Birth system, apocalypse, space, baby, handsome guy, wearing until the end of the world, being kicked out of the base at the beginning. What's going on? Is it currently the most glorious trend to have children? You didn't know that I was born with Gemini luck. Do you not know that I have a birth system? Isn't it just giving birth? Give birth to 1, reward materials, give birth to 2, reward weapons, produce 3, explode equipment. Stock up is not enough, give birth to children to make up for it. That's right, where can I find a high-quality dad? He is a childhood sweetheart who never leaves or abandons, he is still incredibly loyal and brave, with iron blood and steel straight, he was still unlucky in his childhood, criticized by evil spirits and madness. It's so difficult. Keywords of the novel. I am in the post-apocalyptic pregnancy boom without a pop-up window, I am in the post-apocalyptic pregnancy boom. Download the full text, and read the latest chapter in the post-apocalyptic pregnancy boom. Chapter 1. Birth Subsystem. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1. Birth Subsystem. Chun Yen couldn't help but laugh and cry as she held the examination materials for her fully developed uterus. She has such a unique physical condition as an unmarried person. It's really ironic. As a result, there was a loud bang. An underage child illegally drives a car. Directly knocked Chun Yen away. In the 8th year of the apocalypse, Longting Base. A suitable host has been detected, the subsystem binding has been successful, and the system is restarting. Chun Yen was awakened by the sound in his mind. The first feeling is cold. She instinctively wanted to wrap herself in tight-fitting clothes. Someone's voice said, "Life is really big, it really survived. So how about enduring it? It's not a burden yet. They're already 20 years old and haven't developed yet, not even a woman. Dry without any charm. If low fertility is detected, it's considered complete. Even F.level waste doesn't look up to her, she will be kicked out of the base sooner or later. I don't know when the flood outside will recede yet." Sigh. Chun Yen heard these 2 sentences in a daze, and then the 2 women walked out. Ding, the system has successfully restarted. Dear host, I am a pomegranate in the reproductive system. Nice to bind with you. Chun Yen was completely confused. Didn't she get hit and killed? What is this place? What kind of ghost is the birth system? It seems to know Chun Yen's question. Pomegranate inputted the situation of the apocalypse into Chun Yen's mind. Floods and earthquakes have caused global disasters. Mutated zombies and exotic beasts roam freely. Ancient viruses and harmful radiation ravage. Human fertility continues to decline. However, the host is fortunate enough to be bound to the pomegranate and can receive rewards by giving birth to more babies. The rewards obtained are determined by the number and quality of the host's offspring. Of course, the host can also get help from pomegranates. In the birth system, there are various options available, including birth pills, multiple birth pills, strong birth pills, painless delivery techniques, and strong recovery techniques. Chun Yen swallowed her saliva, she had to slow down. Her mind was too wide open, right? The stronger the ability of male mutants selected by the host. The higher the talent of a child born, the richer the rewards will be. Pomegranate continues to explain. Are there any supernatural beings? What about me? Who am I? Chun Yen reached out his hand and looked. This chicken claw-like black hand is definitely not my own. A golden light flashed before my eyes. The basic information about this world and herself is already in her mind. Please host to select high-quality men for in-depth communication as soon as possible. Newcomer gift package, please check it by the host. Chun Yen glanced at the novice backpack. 20 mantu, 10 eggs, 10 potatoes, 5 bottles of mineral water, a dagger and a simulated gun. Space backpack with 6 cubic meters. Chun Yen's mouth twitched, there's no more stingy beginner gift package than this one, right? Nian Nian, that's great. You finally woke up. Eat quickly, you're still hot. A thin and handsome man opened a broken wooden door that creaked in the wind. His hand was holding a gray clump, still steaming hot. His face was a bit bruised, his hair was dripping with water, and he had something resembling rotten leaves on it. But when he looked at Chu Nian, there was light in his eyes. Chu Nian's information immediately appeared in his mind. Jingming, the childhood sweetheart of the original owner in the orphanage. Chu Nian was a wanderer before and has only been at this base for 3 months. And Jingming is the indigenous people of this base. Don't worry, I won't let you go to the red tent. After the testing is over, no matter what the results are, we will get married. We will be allocated a separate house and I will work hard to support you. When Jingming spoke, his face turned red, as if afraid that Chu Nian would refuse, and his eyes were filled with anxiety. As soon as Chu Nian spoke, his throat hurt like a razor blade. Drink it, it's clean. Jingming pulled out a small bottle like a magic trick. There is light yellow water inside. Is this still clean? Chu Nian felt that his understanding of the world was still too one-sided. Think about the mantu and mineral water in the backpack of the novice. Her stomach was bulging with a growl. Hurry up and eat. When we get married, there will be supplies sent out. When Jingming said it, he was a bit lacking in confidence. Chu Nian was too hungry to take out the mantu, so he bit the steamed bun hard. My front teeth were almost cut off. How much bran has been added? The pig food in the pig farm is better than this. Of course, at this point, Chu Nian has no qualifications to despise. To survive, one must be able to eat. Gollum, just as Chu Nian was fighting against that coward. An unusual sound came from Jingming's body. Jingming lowered his head with embarrassment. Chu Nian can't eat anymore. It goes without saying that this steamed bun was saved by Jingming from his own mouth. Eat. Chu Nian handed over the remaining steamed buns, his voice hoarse like sandpaper. It's already the end of the world, and any hygiene or unhygienic issues are not something to consider at all. I'm not hungry, really. Jingming repeatedly refused. But the continuous bowel sounds made his face even redder. This is still a green and simple one. Only by eating can we survive. After drinking water, Chu Nian felt that his throat was much better. Nian Nian. Jingming was pleasantly surprised. Previously, Nian Nian had been pessimistic and disillusioned with the world, and he saved several suicides. Finally, she was willing to live, and Jingming was so excited that she almost burst into tears. Looking at his surprised expression, Chu Nian sighed in her heart. I don't know if it's pure or foolish to be so pure in the apocalypse. Chu Nian had a sore throat and didn't want to speak. All eligible women, gather at the square. The sound of the broadcast sounded, and Chu Nian knew that something that had always scared the original owner had arrived. Nian Nian, don't be afraid, I'll be with you. Jingming immediately walked up to Chu Nian's side and gathered the courage to hold her hand. Chu Nian pulled his chicken feet out of Jingming's hand. She has been an orphan since childhood and doesn't like to have too close contact with others. Sorry, I'm not ready yet. No, it was me who was rude. Jingming apologized repeatedly, while Chu Nian lowered his head and followed behind him. In fact, Chu Nian's mind was full of thoughts. The original owner and her background are somewhat similar, both are orphans. The original owner was in orphanage until the age of 8. As a result, the orphanage was requisitioned. She became a homeless wanderer. Flipping through trash cans, sleeping in bridge holes, drinking rainwater, competing with wild dogs for food. The end of the world has arrived, and the original owner has been struggling on the brink of life and death. I thought that once I found the base, I could survive. Who knew that women without fertility had only two choices? One is being expelled, and the other is a toy for a fallen man. And neither the original owner nor Chun Yen wants to choose between these two. Ayenshio is back again, haha, there's a feeling of Hu-Han-san. New book for children, no fixed CP. If you don't like it, please feel free to spray. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Fertility Testing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Fertility Testing. Hope is as great as despair. The sky of the original owner has completely turned gray, with no visible light. Repeated suicides. In the end, Chun Yen's equally lonely soul was exchanged. However, Chun Yen is different from the original owner. He has been a stubborn and resilient person since childhood. She can send herself into the gate of a vocational school by picking up garbage and doing part-time jobs. It is also possible to become the top seller based on one's own abilities. When it comes to survival ability, she asks herself not to lose to anyone. Only by living can there be hope. Chun Yen followed Jing Ming to the square of the base. It's said to be a square, but it's just a frame made of wood. 4 of them are connected together and look like chairs on the hospital corridor. 4 men and women dressed significantly better than them sat on it. There is still a silver machine in front of them, I don't know what it is for. Line up in 2 lines and leave those with fertility. Those who lack fertility or have lower abilities will be expelled or placed in red tents. A middle-aged woman with a drooping mouth stood up. The women waiting for identification were automatically divided into 2 rows. Everyone coincidentally distanced themselves from Chun Yen. It seems that she has some bad luck on her body, as if she is afraid of getting it. Chun Yen shrugged nonchalantly. Under everyone's surprised gaze, he was the first to stand in front of the machine. Let's get started. Chun Yen said in a hoarse voice. The machine hummed and a green light swept through from beginning to end. When scanning Chun Yen's abdomen, the machine made a piercing sound. Congenital abnormal uterine development, ominous fertility. Others heard this result with a, as expected, expression. What kind of fertility is ominous, isn't it still not good? Let's go down. Although the middle-aged woman was cold, she looked at Chun Yen with a hint of regret in her eyes. Wait until all the women are tested. Except for Chun Yen's ominous ability. 5 have been determined to have low fertility. You can decide for yourself. Going to the red tent can earn you 3 steamed buns every day. If you decide to leave, you must leave the base within an hour. The speaker is still the middle-aged woman. The women who were tested only came to the base in the past 3 months. A certain number of people must be accumulated before testing can be conducted. It is said that operating this detection machine requires a large amount of electricity. It's already very luxurious to open a small survivor base like theirs every 3 months. Before the end of the world, women's fertility was decreasing year by year. In the 8 years of the apocalypse, I struggled on the line of life and death every day, unable to eat enough or wear warm clothes. Many women don't even have their menstrual periods, let alone have children. And at the beginning of the apocalypse, filling the stomach became a problem, and who had the spare energy to support pregnant women and children? That is to say, survivors only start considering the issue of reserve personnel after hoarding materials through various means to build a base. This type of machine for testing fertility has also been invented. Except for Chun Yen, all other women are willing to stay at the base. Even becoming a plaything for men is better than being driven out of the base and wandering. The base is protected by high walls and also stocked with food, so even if you enter the red tent, you won't starve to death. But if we leave the base, there will be threats from mutated animals and flooding. They didn't eat or drink, and they didn't have any abilities, wouldn't they just die? Anyway, you have to hold on to the thighs of the base. Chun Yen, have you really figured it out? The middle-aged woman couldn't bear it. I've figured it out, I'll leave the base now. Chun-Yen has a pomegranate reproductive system, so there is no problem for her to survive temporarily. Finding high-quality male geniuses and giving birth to children can earn generous rewards. Staying at the base is actually inconvenient for movement. She is a woman who has been judged to have unknown fertility. Being sent to the red tent again, Chun-Yen felt goosebumps all over when he thought about it. She can have many men complete the task of having children, but she is definitely not forced. If the issue of the birth system is exposed, maybe it will be devoured alive by then. In this post-apocalyptic world, she doesn't believe anyone except herself. Jingming, thank you very much for taking care of me during this period. Chun-Yen stirred up a faint smile. He walked towards the gate of the base amidst the foolish gaze of everyone at the base. When Chun-Yen walked to the gate, he heard footsteps behind him. Looking back, I saw Jingming with a complex expression. Chun-Yen Guanair. Are you here to see me off? Thank you for taking care of me these days. Just give me a ride, thank you. After speaking, Chun-Yen walked towards the door with a slit open. The gatekeeper at the base is already urging. The door is not just opened casually. What if a wild beast mutated from an ancient virus infiltrates? No, I'm here to follow you. Jingming's voice was low, but his tone was firm. Chun-Yen was surprised. Do you know what it means to follow me out? You could die at any moment. Compared to my death, what I am more afraid of is your death. I will never let you die before me. The sound of Jingming's beginning is still very quiet. The last sentence is like boosting oneself. Chun-Yen's smile widened, then turned around and walked towards the door. Jingming followed behind step by step. Hurry up and close the door, the water outside the dam has risen again. Who knows what might float over. The gatekeeper closed the 3 heavy gates, and Chun-Yen looked out at the high embankment and the blocked flood. Nyen, where are we going? Jingming only followed through on his feelings for Chun-Yen. But he has no preparation for the future. Chun-Yen took a deep breath, the salty smell in the air was very uncomfortable. She set her sights on a direction and said, let's go. Chun-Yen did not dare to venture into the end of the world solely by relying on the birth system. According to the original owner's memory, the world now is actually the same as the world she is in. However, Chun-Yen was hit by a flying machine and ended up in the apocalypse 8 years later. I hope the air raid shelter where she stored things is still. Jingming is a wood-type superpower, although at the lowest F. level. But also luckily found a piece of floating wood. 2 people knelt on the floating wood, using their hands as oars, rowing in the direction commanded by Chun-Yen. Fortunately, this is still the city where Chun-Yen lives. The flood tilted the iconic buildings of the city, but they did not collapse, guiding Chun-Yen in the right direction. The air raid shelter is located below the mountain in the heart of the street park. Nyen, this place has been searched countless times by survivors, and there will be no lost supplies. Jingming reminded. Follow me. They stopped at the street park. This street park was built on the basis of the original mountain. There is still a small hill left under the flood. This air raid shelter is very concealed. If it weren't for Chun-Yen wandering for a while, he wouldn't have discovered this abandoned place. Later on, she became a salesperson and sold everything she could except for a serious job. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Air Defense Caves. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Air Defense Caves. On the surface, she is the sales manager of a certain brand of wooden doors. In fact, behind the scenes are the secondary dealers of medicine, pet food, and expired products. Some of them involve gray areas. Doing these things requires great concealment and cost savings. She used this abandoned air raid shelter as a temporary warehouse. In order to escape the blow, she specially modified the entrance of this air raid shelter. The entrance was not at the foot of the mountain, but was opened by Chun-Yen on the mountaintop. The main focus is on being unexpected. Fortunately, it was like this, otherwise it would have been submerged by the flood long ago. Because there are no iconic pavilions and trees. Chun-Yen also put in some effort to find the entrance. She knocked here and stomped her feet there on the small hill. Jingming didn't know what had happened. It wasn't until an inconspicuous noise came that Chun-Yen's furrowed brow relaxed. Jingming, dig! Jingming used his woody ability to transform two hard wooden thorns. The small hill in the flood was dug up by two people with great difficulty. Chun-Yen was very satisfied with Jingming's obedience. If she wants to receive the reward as soon as possible, Jingming may be her only choice. Digging open more than 10 centimeters of soil and weeds, a small door that only allows one person to pass was revealed. That door is already rusty, and if the flood gets any bigger, it will submerge this place. Nian Nian, this is. Jingming had a surprise in his eyes. If you still want to be with me, remember 4 words. Don't ask, don't say. Can I do it? Can I trust you? Chun-Yen's eyes were calm and terrifying. Jingming quickly nodded. Strictly implement the 4-character policy of don't ask, don't say. A bit silly and cute. 2 people go down one by one and close the small door on top. Jingming activated the wooden ability again, allowing the weeds that had been pulled out to cover the outside. If you don't look carefully, you won't notice it. However, after using his abilities 3 times in a row, Jingming's face turned pale. It is obvious that this F.level ability not only has a small effect, but also has low energy. Chun-Yen led Jingming down the stairs, twisting and twisting, almost turning the person unconscious. Because it was occupied by Chun-Yen without permission, he dared not use electricity at all. We still use the most primitive kerosene lamps. The lighter is still there, and the things must be there too. Chun-Yen groped and lit a kerosene lamp, illuminating the pitch-black alleyway. This way. Chun-Yen was excited and wanted to rub his hands. The air raid shelter continued to descend and reached the innermost side. There was some seepage on the ground, and Chun-Yen and Jingming supported each other and passed through the mud. Pushing open the thick wooden door, a dusty and dry smell rushed towards me. Waterproofing is naturally the best place to be used as a warehouse by Chun-Yen. Jingming, what are you still doing in a daze? Come in quickly. Chun-Yen saw that the materials he had stored here that had not yet been delivered to the customer were still well preserved. My mood is particularly beautiful. Nian Nian, these are all yours. Jingming swallowed his saliva. What did he see? Boxes of compressed biscuits, mineral water, cola, instant noodles, medicine. A wall that is 3 meters wide and over 2 meters high has been piled up. If these things were considered cheap goods before the end of the world. But now is the end of the world. Even if a little of these things leak out, they will be snatched away with nothing left. Unfortunately, it has already expired. However, it's okay, they can still be eaten and haven't spoiled. Chun-Yen would like to thank the preservative. These things are already the expired products of Chun-Yen's hoarding. She was hit and killed by the bear child before she could deliver it to the customer. Unexpectedly, after spinning around, it still returned to its own hands. What are you doing in a daze? Hurry up and eat. Chun-Yen was also generous with Jingming, stuffing 2 compressed biscuits and a bottle of cola into his hand. It would be even better if there was hot water. Chun-Yen chewed the foam of compressed biscuits in his mouth. Looking at the box of instant noodles, my eyes turned blue. Braised beef in brown sauce, onion-flavored ribs, Lao-Tan pickled Chinese cabbage. Chun-Yen looked at the instant noodles and his saliva became even more active. Jingming and Chun-Yen only ate a 100g compressed biscuit and didn't continue eating it. This thing will swell after absorbing water, and eating too much will make your stomach swell. Nian Nian, you have so many things, why do you still? There are many doubts in Jingming's heart. If these supplies are taken out, the base will definitely not drive her out. Why are you still doing so badly? Chun Yen drank his last sip of cola. This is the end of the world, I won't trust anyone except myself. Can we just give these things away and survive? Chun Yen gave a sarcastic smile on his face. She has seen too many things that have been unfaithful and unpredictable for so many years. In the apocalypse, when people become ghosts, their essence remains unchanged. I'm afraid I won't receive some treatment on the surface. I actually don't believe I took out everything. I still don't know how to figure out how to completely squeeze me dry. Chun Yen looked at Jingming. Even if he had a childhood sweetheart with the original owner, she wouldn't trust him completely. Now she needs a man, more importantly, a companion, that's all. You're right, I'm too naive. Jingming sat down against the wall near Chun Yen. Before the end of the world, Jingming unexpectedly found his biological parents. That is, the family of one of the current rulers of the base. Naturally, I also had a relatively comfortable period of time. But later on, as more and more people awakened their abilities. Jingming, on the other hand, is the lowest F.level woody ability. It's not really useful at all. Gradually marginalized. I have fallen to the point where I am no different from the other survivors on the base. In the apocalypse, whoever has a hard fist is the boss. The truth remains unchanged no matter where you go. What should we do next? Jingming is a bit confused. Live on. Chun Yen is already unpacking the cardboard box of instant noodles. Pull off the moisture-proof oil paper on top as a cover. Jingming quickly came over to help. Where did he use Chun Yen's hand? Go to bed first, will anyone come here for a while? The world is vast, eating and sleeping are the greatest. Chun Yen pulled the oil paper and lay down. I also covered it with Jingming by the way. Jingming looked excitedly at Chun Yen, who was willing to sleep with him. My heart was racing to the point where I could hardly control myself. In the past, Chun Yen was very cautious and lost hope in life. How could he respond to Jingming? Nyen Nyen, I will protect you. Jingming's voice received a response from Chun Yen's long breathing. Chun Yen was awakened by the heat. Opening my eyes, I realized that I didn't know when I had rolled into Jingming's arms. Jingming's face blushed like a monkey's butt. He still carefully arched backwards. I'm afraid that dishonest guy might poke Chun Yen. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Symphony comes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Symphony comes, Nyen Nyen, I didn't mean to. Jingming began to stutter when speaking. Chun Yen lowered his head and glanced down, his pants were about to burst. It's also fortunate that he can still hold back. Women in the apocalypse are very miserable, and forced humiliation is too common. Did you really tell me you were getting married before? Chun Yen not only did not push him away, but also placed his hand on his thin and weak chest. Of course it's true, I've loved you since I was young. You don't know how happy I was when you came to the base before. Under Jingming's passionate gaze, there were fine water marks at the corners of his eyes. He is really a sentimental and pure-hearted person. Jingming rambled on a lot about their childhood. Chun Yen finally got tired of listening and directly blocked his mouth. Using one's own lips. The sky thunder and earth fire erupted uncontrollably. The most primitive symphony between men and women rang out in the dim air raid shelter, Nyen Nyen, I'm not, it's my first time, Junior brother Jingming almost confessed himself in a few face-to-face encounters. It's okay, your body can indeed have problems under hunger and cold. Chun Yen really hasn't tasted it yet, it's gone. There was no pain, tear, or excitement as anticipated. But at this moment, the pomegranate jumped out. Detected male genes, is the host taking the birth pill. Gene level. F. Number of babies that can be conceived. 3. Talent. Unknown, pregnancy time. 25 weeks. Chu Nian used the birth pill without any hesitation. As for what high-quality men, Chu Nian doesn't want them. However, so far, the only person she can temporarily trust is Jingming. So she has no other choice. Chu Nian had no intention of having only Jingming as the man. Pomegranate once said that the stronger a man's abilities, the better his genes will be. The same goes for the offspring born. The rewards given by the birth system will also increase. It's already the end of the world, only interests can move people's hearts. Chu Nian held a bad hand. How to win the bad cards is the most important issue for her to consider. Even living is difficult. What kind of devotion and chastity are not within Chu Nian's consideration range for a long time? How to survive, live well. Being able to endure one day is one day, and it is the first law of existence in the end of life. Chu Nian was immersed in his own thoughts. I didn't notice that the light in Jingming's eyes had dimmed. For a man, supernatural abilities are not acceptable. We cannot yet provide women with happiness and food and clothing. In the apocalypse, it will be considered waste. Nian Nian, do you think I'm useless? Jingming is a person with a long mouth, but he is not considered hopeless. Of course not. Is this your first time? It's normal. How about we try again? Chu Nian is not sure if Jingming, who is suffering from malnutrition, is still okay. Okay. Jingming didn't expect Nian Nian to still be willing to give him a chance. He needs to grasp it this time. Jingming has used up all the accumulated energy of that special ability. Finally, I have regained my masculine spirit. Chu Nian's voice became hoarse, and indeed, a man's ability in this area cannot be questioned. Detected the same male gene, do you take the birth pill? Pomegranate sprouted again. Because Chu Nian's uterus is well developed, she can conceive simultaneously and even give birth at different times. No wonder the doctor who treated her at the time envied her fertility. Use. But this time she didn't dare to choose triplets, instead she chose twins. That is to say, 2 uteruses are conceived together, giving birth to 5 at a time. If she returns to the base with such a belly, will those people's faces be swollen from being beaten up? Since the establishment of the base, neither the indigenous people nor later survivors have had any newborns. Whether a base can develop significantly depends on both material and human resources. Without the addition of newborns, this base will eventually perish. So even if it's difficult, pregnant women and newborns are the most favored targets in any base. Just for some unknown reason, human fertility is gradually decreasing. Not only women, but also men's sperm survival rate is as low as 10% to 20%. Even a large number of asthenozoospermia and azoospermia should not be too sour. Like Jingming. Being able to detect healthy tadpoles twice in a row by pomegranate. They are already considered high-quality men. Now Chu Nian is pregnant with a baby in both of her uterus. She can also be considered as having a heart in her stomach. The testing machine at the base should have discovered her double uterus. But it is uncertain whether she will be able to conceive. That's why that judgment was given. What the people at the base think, in fact, Chu Nian doesn't care. What she cares more about is how much reward the birth system can give her. The rewards for the birth subsystem include these lost and recovered materials. That's the key to her survival in the apocalypse. You sleep, I'll watch over you. Jingming saw Chu Nian's face tinged with fatigue, and also knew that he had been making too much noise just now. Chu Nian entrusted the guard work to Jingming with peace of mind. Although F.level abilities are a bit useless. But this little thing can still be done. Chu Nian was in a daze, unsure of how long he had slept. Jingming woke her up. Nian Nian, a mouse has come in. Jingming had an extra wooden spike in his hand, resembling a rolling pin, at some point. Be vigilant and keep an eye on the outside of the warehouse. Squeak, squeak. The mouse's cry came very clearly to the ears of the two people. Listening to the sound, it's not just one or two, it should be a group. The mutated mouse is larger in size than the cat and has a pair of steel teeth. Perhaps Chu Nian and his companions entered the air raid shelter, causing the odor inside to leak out. That's why we recruited these guys. That's just right. Mouse meat is also a good thing. We won't eat it, so it's good to exchange it. Chu Nian took out the dagger from the beginner's backpack. He also put on a posture that was both offensive and defensive. In the past, Chu Nian went up in the hall and down in the kitchen, and fought against thieves and hooligans. It's just some mutated mice, she has confidence in dealing with them. Your wooden abilities are too rough to use. Wait a moment, you will transform the ability into a wooden thorn, specifically targeting the abdomen of those mice. Be sure to hit it with just one hit, do you understand? Exercise your mental strength well, and even an F level may not remain unchanged. Chu Nian's words made Jingming's eyes light up for a moment, and he nodded to indicate that he knew. Not good, Chu Nian saw water seeping in. How did she forget? It's almost a water world outside now. The mouse must have entered through a hole, she's going to lose her air defense. I'll deal with these mice. Go find the mouse hole and make sure to block it tightly. At the beginning, it was hell level, and Chu Nian's palms began to sweat. But she clenched the dagger even tighter. Either you die or I die, I'm afraid it's useless. Chu Nian wielded his sword and had already chopped off the head of a mutated mouse. Seeing Jingming still in a daze, he kicked him in the butt. Hurry up and go. After Chu Nian finished speaking, he rushed towards the constantly crawling mutant mice. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Second Road Vendors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Second Road Vendors. Jingming watched as Chu Nian could handle it. First, a wooden spear was used to kill several mutated mice. Then he rushed towards the direction of the leak. If the flood really pours in, their safety is under threat, not to mention. Those precious resources were wasted. After Jingming left, Chu Nian launched a killing spree, and those mutated mice were not her enemies. It was quickly cleaned up. Taking advantage of Jingming's absence, she stuffed the beginner's backpack with compressed biscuits and medicine. Medicine is a resource that is even more scarce than food in the apocalypse. A single antibiotic can be sold at a sky-high price. Chu Nian couldn't help feeling excited as he thought about the various antibiotics hidden in his backpack. She also pinned the simulation gun to her body. This thing is made with rubber bullets, and unless it hits the eye, it has no killing power. It's quite good to use it to scare people. If you don't take it and carefully examine it, even experts will find it difficult to discover that it is a Shibai product. Sure enough, all the products produced by the system are exquisite. Potatoes, eggs and mantou were also taken out. It's all for stuffing in more compressed cookies. Jingming returned and saw the corpses of mutated mice on the ground. Nian Nian, are you okay? Are you injured? Jingming checked Chu Nian immediately. Make sure she's okay, then rest assured. Jingming's body was covered in water, and his hands were covered in mud. There are some dark red marks left at the corners of the mouth. You're injured. Chu Nian's words are affirmative. I recruited some tree roots to block the mouse hole, and the energy was a bit overdrawn. I'll just take a break. The mouse hole has been blocked, don't worry. Faced with Chu Nian's worried face, Jingming deliberately smiled lightly. Eat this. Chu Nian handed over 2 eggs. Jingming no longer feels mystical. He hasn't seen anything like eggs since the end of the world. Recite and eat. Jingming swallowed hard and forced himself to shift his eyes elsewhere. You take good care of yourself in order to better protect me. I still have it here. Chunyan's heart softened. In the apocalypse, Jingming was able to resist the temptation of precious food like eggs. Chunyan's trust in him has increased a bit. Moreover, Jingming did not have any special reaction to the sudden appearance of eggs. It seems like this is what it should be. This reassured Chunyan a little more about him. I'll take care of these mice, they'll be good things after baking. Jingming buried his head and worked hard at the corpses of those mice. The apocalyptic disasters are rampant, and there is a shortage of food. Even if these mutated mice are disgusting, they are still flesh. The original owner had also eaten it before, and in the most difficult times, it was even eaten raw. Thinking of this, Chunyan felt a bit nauseous. Don't turn your face away, don't look at the movements of Jingming's hands. Nian, tomorrow I will take these rat meat back to the base for exchange. Do you think it's okay? It's nice for us to hide here. But there is no firewood or flue, there is no way to handle it. Jingming solicited the opinions of Chunyan. Are you sure you can keep these things after you go back? Chunyan doesn't trust those people at the base at all. Even though Jingming is a descendant of the ruling family and has low talent, he is still not regarded as a person. Chunyan didn't think Jingming could keep these supplies. The light in Jingming's eyes weakened. Why not find some homeless people? You may not know that some of the second-tier street vendors among the homeless are still following the rules. They won't ruin their reputation for such a small thing. Relying on the memory of the original owner. Chunyan has a better understanding of the apocalypse than Jingming, who has always lived in the base. The location of the second trafficker's activities is not too far from the base, so you can try your luck. It is impossible to distinguish between dark and day in the air raid shelter. Jingming crawled out 3 times to confirm that it was dawn. Nian, the flood seems to have receded a bit. Jingming brings back good news. That's perfect. Let's also go out and see if there's a more suitable place for us to live. These things are not safe to put here either. Once discovered by humans or other animals, we cannot survive. Chunyan has his own ideas. People are social animals, and it is not realistic to fight alone in the apocalypse. She needs to find a way to establish her own influence. Even if one day they return to the base, they must have enough say to do so. Okay, we'll all listen to you. Jingming responded to Chunyan's words without hesitation. 2 people, fully armed, crawled out of the air raid shelter. They were still carrying a temporary backpack made of oil paper and tape on their backs. Jingming was carrying mouse meat, while Chunyan was carrying some compressed biscuits and instant noodles. Chunyan found the small underground trading market according to the original owner's memory. You hide here, I'll go find someone. Unless I call you out with a secret code, you're not allowed to move anything that happens, remember. Chunyan is the most suitable person to do such a thing. Jingming is responsible for protecting most of the materials, dividing labor and cooperating to minimize risks. Nian, you must be careful. Jingming is really not at ease. I have been wandering for 8 years without starving, and I have my own means of survival. Chunyan smiled slightly and then waded through the water towards a nearby building complex. This was originally a large shopping mall, and everyone inside was robbed of everything. Even the doors and windows were taken away by someone, leaving only an empty room. Many homeless people live here. It has also become a small underground black market. Don't be fooled by the end of the world, people with skills still live well. Chunyan wandered around for 2 rounds before being targeted by someone. She led the person to the dark, turned around, and put the dagger around the neck of the person. Guess why a woman dares to come here alone? Didn't your boss teach you? Is it the women and children who walk alone in the apocalypse that need to be guarded against the most? Chun Yen's dagger pressed forward and a burst of blood rushed out. Don't, misunderstandings, a misunderstanding. Be careful, girl. I still have an 80-year-old mother and a starving baby at home. They all come out to make a living, there's no need to fight and kill as soon as we meet, right? The man who was forced by Chun Yen was thin and small, with 2 beards. This person is recognized by Chun Yen and nicknamed Mouse. Ha! Have you ever been here before? Why do you look a bit familiar? The rat is the most clever and discerning of the 2 traffickers, and it is not an exaggeration to say that they never forget. Don't get too close. Chun Yen made up his mind to suppress people at once, otherwise he might suffer a lot of losses in the future. After several threats, the mouse finally understood Chun Yen's purpose. Little sister, if you had said you wanted to exchange supplies earlier, why should we meet with swords and soldiers? Whatever you want to exchange, just speak up. I dare not say anything else, there is nothing in this eastern city that I cannot obtain. The mouse praises Haikao. I want an escape pod, do you have one? Chun Yen moved the dagger away and gave the other person a blank glance. I'm not afraid of my tongue flickering in the strong wind. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Lower Hook. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Lower Hook. The mouse gave a dry laugh. Sister, aren't you making fun of me? Not to mention me, it's just that several nearby bases dare not claim to have rare objects like escape pods. But if the little sister needs some daily necessities, it won't be difficult for me. People like mice are very slippery. It was discovered that Chun Yen did not intend to completely eliminate them. Immediately hit the snake with the stick and get almost hooked. I just don't know what the little sister has. The mouse looked up and down at Chun Yen. I couldn't see anything unusual about her. Compressed cookies, instant noodles. Chun Yen spat out these 2 names, and Mouse's eyes lit up. Seriously. The mouse dug out its ear, afraid that it might have heard the wrong thing. After all, industry has been completely abandoned. These things were all saved with great effort. Even so, it took 8 years and was almost eaten clean by people. Occasionally, sporadic occurrences are contested by those with power and influence. And the meat of mutant mice, fresh. Chun Yen continued. This is a good thing in the apocalypse. I don't know what Miss wants to exchange for. The mouse rubbed its hands, he had to get his hands on the 2 things besides mouse meat. Chun Yen was already prepared and threw a single order directly over. The list was written with mouse blood on it, which looks a bit shocking. Chun Yen listed the most basic materials for survival outside. The pots, bowls, ladles, and pots are all inside. Little sister, these down clothes and blankets are also easy to handle. You can even grit your teeth to get anti-theft doors and windows. This solar generator is a bit difficult to handle. The mouse's eyes twirled and twitched. Chun Yen understood that he wanted to raise the price by sitting on the ground. She certainly wouldn't give him this opportunity and just turn around and leave. Hey, little sister, stay, let's discuss. You have to show me the goods, right? The mouse was afraid that the little ancestor would just leave, so the supplies he received flew away. Chun Yen took out a pack of compressed biscuits, a solid and good package of 100 grams. Red date flavor. At first glance, the mouse turned out to be a cherished multi-flavored compressed biscuit. Little sister, how many do you have? How much do you want? As for business, it's all about going from person to person. The 2 of them tested each other's bottom line. Chun Yen exchanged 5 pounds of compressed biscuits for all the items on her list except for the solar generator. Agreed on a location for half of the transaction first. Wait until everything is verified to be fine before handing over the other half. And the mouse also left a portion of its supplies as collateral. At the end of the day, both sides dare not fully trust each other. Chu Nian returned to Jingming's hiding place. Nian Nian, are you okay? The wooden thorn in Jingming's hand did not come down. Because of too much force, my fingers are numb. It's okay, take the things to the next place. An hour later, Chu Nian and Jingming hid in the dark and saw Mouse and the boat he was rowing. No one else followed behind. Little sister, the inspection of goods are all solid and good things. The most important thing for a mouse in this field is integrity. If the reputation is bad, then it is a dead end. After Chu Nian checked, he asked Jingming to remove the hidden things. Both parties are considered to have completed the transaction. In addition to the red date flavor, I also picked some salted egg yolks and milk. Instant noodles can be considered as a gift from me. Chu Nian used the word pick and placed a hook in the heart of Mouse. There is still evidence to prove. There are still 4 bags of instant noodles with different flavors available for free, and such generous customers are rare. Little sister, you are really my true bodhisattva. The mouse is almost bowing to Chu Nian. He hasn't seen Chu Nian for the first time either. I never realized before that she was actually a treasure girl. The mouse wanted to hold on to Chu Nian, a long-term customer, and even gave her the boat. Although there was still some water seepage after repair, it was what Chu Nian needed very much at this time. Thank you very much. Chu Nian finally had a slight smile on his face. You're welcome, little sister. We still have to work together in the future, don't we? The mouse looked at the compressed biscuits delivered and swallowed. Happy cooperation. Chu Nian asked Jingming to pull onto the small boat and leave. Hey, little sister, when can I still find you? The mouse looked at Chu Nian with some reluctance. I will find you. Then Chu Nian threw a ball of paper over. Mouse opened it and looked at it. Yo ho, this little sister has a big appetite. This list even includes hot weapons. There are also stainless steel power grids, charcoal, compressed fuel, electric heating. The mouse is a bit confused. However, this does not prevent him from wanting to do this business with Chu Nian. With this box of compressed biscuits, his wife and children can all fill their stomachs. As for the mouse meat, he doesn't plan to report it. Will it taste good to go back and stew it? Chu Nian rowed a small boat with Jingming and circled several times. Wait until it gets completely dark before returning to the air raid shelter. I can't rest when I go back, but I loaded everything onto the boat. Fortunately, the ship given by Mouse was not too small, otherwise it would have to sink. Having Jingming's wooden abilities is also good, and the water seepage area can be easily repaired. Let's go. Chu Nian looked at the empty air raid shelter. Nian Nian, why don't we stay here? The flood outside is about to recede. Jingming doesn't quite understand. It's too dangerous here, if someone pours water or smoke into it. We can't hold on for a few minutes. Chu Nian was in a good mood because he had exchanged the goods he wanted. Moreover, I may become pregnant and require sunlight and a warmer and more comfortable environment. Chu Nian's resolute words stunned Jingming. But you. Jingming also wants to have his own children. And after having children, they can return to the base. My test is fertility unknown. Do you know why? Chu Nian mentioned that she was pregnant with both uterus. This is a hospital diagnosis before the end of the world began. Because the apocalypse destroyed industry, agriculture, and the tertiary industry. Along with the hospital, they were all destroyed. The drugs and medical supplies that can be seized are very limited. After establishing the base, some researchers created this type of full-body scanner, similar to color ultrasound. It is used to determine a woman's fertility, but deeper tests cannot be done. Nian Nian, are you true? Do you really have a chance of getting pregnant with our child? Jingming was extremely excited, and his hand holding Chu Nian was trembling. It's not possible, it's certain. My body is mine, I still know if I'm pregnant or not. Chu Nian is bullying Jing Ming and doesn't understand these things. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Deception of Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Deception of Life. After listening to Chu Nian's words, Jing Ming hugged him tightly. If it weren't for Chu Nian's quick reaction, it's likely that Jing Ming had already been stabbed in the opposite direction by her. Nian Nian, thank you, really thank you. Thank you for being willing to marry me. Thank you for giving me a baby. I will work hard to support you too. Jing Ming now feels full of strength all over his body. That child's father, let's row our boat now. If we continue to stir up trouble and attract wanderers, our property will not be preserved. Chu Nian tapped his shoulder. It seems that she has just developed a bit of self-awareness as a mother. Chu Nian and Jing Ming rowed a small boat to the edge of this city. Just before the end of the world, it was named Longting New Area. However, at this time, the new area was already devastated. That's it, let's move to the 4th floor. Chu Nian looked at the newly built community, which was 2 floors high and submerged. There are still rough houses everywhere. Nian Nian, the water here seems to be shallower. Jing Ming tried the depth of the wooden thorn and jumped only to the bend of his calf. It's just a day and a night, and the flood has gone down so much. The days ahead will be much better. Jing Ming is full of confidence in the future. But Chu Nian is not so optimistic. After the flood ends, there may be an earthquake, and after the earthquake, it may be extremely cold or hot. Even hurricanes, tsunamis, acid rain, and so on, there is nothing that people can't imagine, nothing that the apocalypse cannot achieve. What is the apocalypse? The apocalypse is about not letting people live. Moreover, there are mutated animals and zombies outside. In the original owner's memory, the zombie virus only infected a small number of people. Under the joint operation of several major bases, it has been controlled within a very small range. But this is always a time bomb, maybe it will explode at some point. Who knows if the zombie virus will escalate and mutate again. Watching Jing Ming move things upstairs one by one, she didn't disappoint either. 2 people used the lightest action to transfer all their belongings to the 4th floor 402 of the rough house. First, install the anti-theft doors and windows. My 4 bags of instant noodles are not for free. Chu Nian found a portable acetylene welding gun. Enough for her to firmly fix the anti-theft doors and windows. Nian Nian, let's sleep in the boat first. I'll go out tomorrow and see if I can find some wooden boards. Make a big bed for you. Jing Ming spread all the bedding on the wooden boat. Let's talk more. Because the sound of the welding gun is a bit loud. Chu Nian and Jing Ming both felt a little commotion. Probably other homeless people living in this rough building. But for the sake of safety, Chu Nian didn't care anymore. Wanderers are very cautious and cautious. If you haven't figured out the other person's background, you won't take action easily. Chu Nian dared to confidently prepare for these. Although Jing Ming's ability is not very good, his hands-on ability is top-notch. The anti-theft doors and windows were all installed in less than half an hour. This second-tier dealer is quite sincere, and the quality of these anti-theft doors and windows is excellent. Even C-level mutants can withstand it. Jing Ming pushed the anti-theft doors and windows hard. That's enough for now, it's not certain in the future. If you come across someone with a thermal weapon, their anti-theft doors and windows are just a layer of window paper. However, based on the current situation, their poor appearance is not worth wasting hot weapons on them. Those with abilities above level C are probably also looked down upon. I can sleep well now. After a tiring day, Chu Nian was very tired. The original owner's body is not as strong as before. It seems that this exercise should also be planned. Jingming, try using the light power and then accumulate it to see if it will increase. To squeeze to the limit of usage. Chu Nian finished speaking and pulled on the blanket before falling asleep. She didn't just say it casually. This is the message obtained from the pomegranate mouth of the system. In the post-apocalyptic era, people always have to save their own hands in order to protect themselves. I dare not completely use up my powers. So this method of cultivating supernatural powers was not discovered. In everyone's basic understanding, the level of awakened abilities is the same. I have no idea how this sword deviates. Jingming looked at Chu Nian, who was extremely tired and asleep. Nian Nian, I will definitely become stronger and protect you well. One night passed, and blood stains appeared again on Jingming's lips. Although his face was pale, his spirit was very good. Because he repeatedly used up all his powers 3 times and indeed found that his powers had increased. Although the magnitude is not significant, it has actually increased. He told Chu Nian the good news as soon as possible. I look forward to my Jingming becoming an A-level superpower. Who dares to underestimate us then? Chu Nian's smile became increasingly gentle. When we return to the base, I will definitely give you a grand wedding. A sentence, my Jingming, made Jingming's blood boil hot. He grabbed Chu Nian's hand and placed it on his cheek. It's unfair to let you follow me like this. Jingming's eyes were filled with tenderness. No, Jingming is very good. Chu Nian's heart was warmed. Perhaps she could consider bringing her heart closer to him. The rumbling sound of the stomach shattered the tranquility and beauty. I want to eat instant noodles, they need to be cooked. Chu Nian sat up and tied his hair with a cloth strip behind his head. Everything is ready. Jingming has already finished painting the pot he exchanged yesterday. The wooden thorns created last night for the purpose of using light powers happened to be used as firewood, and they were still smokeless. Chu Nian felt for the first time that Jingming's wooden abilities were quite useful. In the future, it can also be used to promote the growth of plants. Who says that wooden abilities are like chicken ribs? It's just that these people have eyes but no eyeballs. Oh, it's so fragrant. A pot of hot instant noodles was served, and both of them drank the soup without leaving a drop. If it weren't for saving face, Jingming wished he could lick all the pots. The window is sealed, isn't it? This smell can't spread out. Chu Nian looked outside the window. Don't worry, you see. Jingming asked Chu Nian to take a look at the crack in the window, which was blocked by a dense mesh of tree roots. It is obvious that this was all done by Jingming last night. It's hard. Chu Nian touched his still pale face. This method of cultivating supernatural powers is indeed effective, but it is also truly laborious. Being with Nian Nian is worth it no matter how hard it is. Jingming rubbed his face against Chu Nian's hand. Someone has arrived. Jingming immediately guarded and hid the wooden thorn by the door. Chu Nian also drew a dagger. Whoever wants to come in will face a bloody lesson. New here, come out quickly, the building manager has something to say to you. Don't toast, don't eat, and don't get punished. Someone shouted loudly. Chu Nian and Jingming exchanged a glance. This is bullying. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. 0 Yuan Purchase. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. 0 Yuan Purchase. The people outside have been arguing for a long time, but there is no movement inside. Want to have peace of mind with this turtle shell? I can only say that you are too naive. There was more than one person outside, and a few people chattered for a while. Finally, stand out as a man like an iron tower. Nian Nian, not good, this person should be a power-type superpower. Jingming's face changed. In addition to the 5 series abilities of gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. In addition, there are also power, speed, wind, thunder, ice in the water system, as well as the legendary spirit system. Unexpectedly, as soon as they settled down, they encountered a power-type superpower. Even the lowest level F level. It's only a matter of time before they can blast open the anti-theft door they finally got. This is easy to handle, Chun-Yen lightly picked at the corner of his mouth. When the power-type superpower accumulates strength and rushes towards the anti-theft door. The anti-theft door suddenly opened. Then it quickly closed again. A scream came from behind. After a few minutes, I heard a plop sound. It's like the sound of something falling into the water. What's going on here? A few people outside are all confused. Go out and take a look. A few people hurriedly ran outside. I only saw more than 10 blood holes on the sturdy body of the falling water, still emitting hot air. They killed Foam Sanner. A few people couldn't believe their own eyes. But the fact lies before us. A few people exchanged a glance and knew that the new arrival was a ruthless person. Although the fate of the apocalyptic world is like a blade of grass, it kills with just one glance. In Longting New District, this area of rough houses is still rare. Little did they know that Jing Ming, who had just pierced Fong Sanner with a wooden thorn, was still trembling in his hands. It's good to see more in the future. Chun-Yen suppressed the vomit that surged up his throat. I don't know if this sentence was meant for myself or for Jing Ming. Two people leaned quietly against the door, letting the blood on the ground dry into a dark red. Time flows slowly, and both of them are calming their minds. One is a soul from a peaceful era, and the other is a survivor living on the base. They are all adapting to this exceptionally cruel world in their own way. Either he dies or we die, don't be afraid to recite. Jingming stood up supporting the door frame. Make sure there is no one outside and bring a bucket of water to clean the room. Neither of them has much appetite. Chunyan took out mantou and eggs. Simply heating up makes a meal. The salt exchanged from the mouse was not willing to be used. Find out the seasoning bag from the previous instant noodles. Rub the remaining powder and oil with mantou. That slight salty taste is just a meal. Next time, let's add less seasoning, it's too luxurious. Jingming looked eagerly at the transparent packaging bag. Don't worry, there will be bread and milk as well. Chun-Yen looked at his stomach and realized that such a bizarre thing could happen. It felt like he was dreaming. Because he killed Fong Sanner, a power-type superpower. Let the people in the rough room area not know the details of Jingming and Chun-Yen. But it allowed them to pass half a month peacefully and steadily. They haven't been idle for the past half-month either. Taking advantage of the dark moon and high winds, we gather useful things outside. Nyen, this has been flattened by the flood, with broken bricks and tiles. Jingming followed Chun-Yen so far for the first time in search of supplies. It's in a piece of muddy land on the west side of the city. Because this area used to be a slum. They are all low-rise bungalows that are unwilling to be demolished. When the flood came, it was directly flattened. Just come with me. Chun-Yen knew that a colleague had dug his own underground warehouse here. And the cunning rabbit's 3 caves have hidden more than one place. She doesn't believe it and can't leave some for her. Nyen, I am carrying you on my back. I have gained a lot of abilities and strength now. Jingming squatted down and lifted Chun-Yen on his back. These days he has been eating well, sleeping well, and putting in all his efforts to cultivate. It's really different from before. It used to be a hemp pole, but now it's wrapped in a circle of hemp thread. It was Chun-Yen who developed drowsiness, nausea, and weakness. Before the end of the world, the Earth's magnetic field had undergone changes, greatly affecting the bodies of women. After the end of the world, this is even more so, and women's pregnancy periods have become shorter. A woman who can successfully conceive and give birth is at most 30 weeks old. Like Chun-Yen with the blessing of the birth system and multiple births. The system predicts 25 weeks, which is slightly over 6 months. So the time when pregnancy reactions occur has also been advanced. Under the command of Chun Yen, they arrived at a house with only 2 broken walls left. Right here, dig down. Chun Yen endured the discomfort and dug up with Jing Ming. Buying for 0 is not that easy either. Fortunately, Jingming's strength has increased significantly now. An hour later, a tunnel entrance appeared in front of the 2 people. It's only after the 2 of them go down that you're really dumbfounded. Sun Ergu, you are a real dog. The owner of this warehouse is called Sun Ergu. Chun Yen used to get goods from him. It can be considered Chun Yen's previous family. She wanted to take a batch of antibiotics from him before she died. He gritted his teeth and said nothing. As a result, there are 200 to 300 boxes in this warehouse. Above are the names of various antibiotics and vaccines. Before the end of the world, the medical industry had already been very developed. The storage conditions for vaccines are not as strict. In addition, there are drugs for treating cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases. The inventory of household regular medicines is also very large. Low-priced medical supplies such as iodine, gauze, and alcohol cotton are piled up to over 5 meters long and 2 people tall. If so many drugs and medical supplies were to be known, it would definitely drive people crazy. Triggering a fire is not a matter of minutes. Now this extraordinary wealth belongs to Chun Yen and Jing Ming. Nian, I'm not dreaming, am I? Jing Ming pinched his arm fiercely, it turned purple. Of course not, but we can't take all of these things away. Exchange some of the goods first and reinforce our home. The rest is buried in place, we need to move faster. Although it was dark, Chun Yen was also worried that they would be targeted. 2 people picked up one and quickly carried away 1/3 of these things. I found some tattered clothes, bedding, and old door panels to cover up. And Chun Yen has already hidden some precious drugs and vaccines in his novice backpack. The 2 of them took advantage of the darkness and pulled the small boat back. Fortunately, the flood has not completely receded. Otherwise, Chun Yen really doesn't know how to get these things back. The 2 of them went downstairs and Jingming discovered some unfamiliar footprints. Someone has come to our house. Jingming's hands showed wooden spikes as weapons. Chun Yen tiptoed upstairs. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. 3 kills. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 3 kills. Hurry up, those 2 people will be back soon. There are 3 people at the door, prying open the door of Chun Yen's house. Chun Yen gave Jing Ming a glance and asked him to hide in the dark. Aren't you dying anymore? Chun Yen was holding a dagger, his voice cold and eerie. 3 people turned around together and found that only Chun Yen was there. A woman without any abilities is not to be feared. The 3 of them stood up and looked up and down at Chun Yen with a dirty expression in their eyes. Where's your little lover? Why didn't he come back with you? Did it hide or has it already been taken down by someone? How can a man like a chick give you happiness? Why don't you follow our brothers? I'm sure you'll be well served. As they spoke, the 3 of them slowly gathered around Gigi. It is obvious that in the past few days, they have already figured out the details of Chun Yen and Jing Ming. That's why I dared to come and pry at the door today. Have you forgotten how that person died? Chun Yen took 2 steps back. The 3 of them laughed even more recklessly. Don't come over, my husband will be back soon. Chun Yen's hand holding the knife trembled a bit. The 3 of them laughed even more wildly. It is obvious that Chun Yen was not taken seriously. I reached out to grab the dagger from her hand. Chun Yen drew his right dagger forward. The left hand sprinkled out the seasoning for the instant noodles that had already been prepared. Ah, my eyes! Chun Yen specially selected black pepper beef flavor. Taking advantage of their obstructed vision. The dagger in Chun Yen's hand cut open a man's carotid artery. The flowers splashed with blood are particularly dazzling. Jingming's wooden thorn has also arrived at this time. The faucet in the hand of another man had just taken shape when he struck it with all his might and penetrated his heart. The remaining one stumbled and ran downstairs when he saw the situation was not good. Jingming! Chun Yen let out a loud roar. Jingming's powers were fully unleashed, and two wooden vines, thick and thin, immediately bound the man's ankle. The man's reaction was fast, and the knife in his hand cut off the cane and continued to run, continuously creating pits or mounds on the ground to block the pursuit of two people watching him about to escape. Chun Yen, feeling anxious, transferred 2 boxes of vaccines from the beginner's backpack and threw them at the person. The outer layer of the vaccine box is protected by a hard plastic shell. 2 boxes so big were smashed down, and the Earth-type superpower's limbs twitched twice before stopping moving. Chun Yen used to put away the vaccine in front of Jingming. I just awakened to spatial abilities. It's not stable yet, so I didn't tell you. I'm afraid I'll have a good time in the air. Chun Yen explained it. The end of the world has arrived, and only men have awakened their abilities, while women have not yet discovered them. But in the situation where the superpowers are everywhere, her awakening of a spatial ability is not too outrageous. Great, Nyen Nyen, quickly put away the things and I'll go deal with the body. Sure enough, Jingming did not doubt it, and Chun Yen breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, I found an excuse to cover it up. This movement naturally caught the attention of other homeless people. Looking at 2 people with inconspicuous strength, I didn't expect to kill 4 people back and forth. Be ruthless and merciless in your actions. Marked as difficult to provoke by wanderers. 3 corpses were carried away by Jingming and thrown into the water. I estimate that the flood will soon recede. Jingming wiped the sweat off his head and felt a chill in his forehead. Is it snowing? Jingming and Chun Yen looked up. At first, it was just a fine snowfall. In just a few breaths, it turned into goose feathers and heavy snow. When did it snow in Longcheng? Jingming and Chun Yen are both native Longcheng people. Although there are distinct 4 seasons here. But even in winter, it's just a few small snowflakes that melt on the ground. Such heavy snowfall with goose feathers has never appeared before. We're afraid it's going to be extremely cold, so we need to move faster. Chun Yen knew that the end of the world would not be so kind as to let them live a peaceful life. However, this heavy snowfall only lasted for half an hour before it stopped. At dawn, I just feel a bit cold. Many people don't even know it's snowing. You stay and watch the house, I'll go find Mouse. Chun Yen tied compressed biscuits and instant noodles to himself. Wearing loose clothes outside doesn't make it very noticeable. The remaining valuable medicines are all in her beginner's backpack. Nyen Nyen, you're not feeling well, let me go instead. Jingming is worried about Chun Yen's health and safety. You are too simple and straightforward, I'm afraid you'll be sold by mice. Besides, do you think the task of watching the house is easy? Did you forget those 3 people yesterday? Wait for me to come back well. Chun Yen didn't give Jingming a chance to refute and quietly left. She relied on her familiarity with the city to avoid other homeless people as much as possible. I quickly saw the figure of the mouse. And when the mouse saw Chun Yen, it was like seeing a savior. Sister, do you still have compressed biscuits and instant noodles? I want as much as you want, just give me a sentence for whatever you want. I didn't expect the mouse to be so happy this time. Chun Yen watched cautiously as she remained silent. From a lowly, little sister, to a sister with flattery. This change in title means that her supplies are scarce. Of course, Chun Yen will not be overwhelmed by his enthusiasm. Is this also available? Chun Yen extended his index finger and thumb, making a gun gesture. If there can be 10 boxes of instant noodles, even a slight punch is fine. The mouse chuckled, their boss was very clever. 10 boxes. Do you think I look like 10 boxes? Yuan gave him a white glance. 10 boxes of instant noodles are not without them, it's just that you can't feed him all at once. But do you want this? Yuan revealed a box of amoxicillin from his sleeve. Damn it, sister, you're really my sister. The mouse almost jumped up and quickly pulled Yuan to a more secluded place. Sister, from now on you will be my own sister. You just want to build an escape pod, so I'll give up this 100 pounds. The mouse's eyes lit up like a light bulb. Before he could reach out, Yuan flipped his hand and didn't give him a chance. Although it has expired, the medication should still be effective. I want everything on the list I gave you before. Also, I'll give you 3 pounds of compressed biscuits and 15 bags of instant noodles. You must not be at a disadvantage. The conditions offered by Yuan can be said to be just right. Let the mice make a profit, but not much. The most important thing in becoming a sales champion is not having a sharp tongue, but having a discerning and appropriate perspective. In order to earn more money, Yuan is the most hardworking student in their entire college. Even minor in psychology. Not for that piece of paper, but for living. Sister, I see that you are a sincere person. How about adding another set of solar panels to prevent you from losing out? Deal. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Han E. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Han E. Yuan dismantled everything from his body and handed it over to the mouse. This can be considered as a deposit, but amoxicillin is well hidden. With this thing around, she's not afraid of mice running away. Take everything to this place. Also, try to find these things as much as possible. Don't worry, I won't let you suffer. Yuan gave Mouse an address, not far from Longting New District. In addition, he was given a longer order. And I stuffed 10 small packets of shower gone ling granules. The mouse excitedly called out, sister, repeatedly. Yuan asked him to prepare not only protective doors and windows but also several self-defense weapons. The other things are all for keeping warm, and the mouse is a bit puzzled. But he didn't ask a word more. This is what talented people like Yuan dislike the most. Anyway, just get the benefits, as for where this thing came from, it has nothing to do with him. Yuan enjoys dealing with smart people very much. So I don't mind giving him some dessert. On the way back, Yuan was even more careful, while also observing the situation in Longting New area. Because it is a new area with few people and not too bustling. It is also close to the western city, so there are not many homeless people. A bloody smell. Yuan took a sniff. There's no fighting around here, how could there be a bloody smell? Suppressing his curiosity, Yuan continued to move forward. Help me, I will repay you. A weak voice reached Yuan's ear. Who? Yuan's dagger was pulled out. Immediately hid behind a broken wall. Cough, miss, you stepped on my hand. The sound came from under his feet, making Yuan almost jump up in fear. Before the end of the world, she had learned some kung fu from 3-legged cats. It's just a way to save lives more than ordinary people. It has not yet reached the point of having 6 eyes and listening to all directions. Sorry. Yuan raised his foot, and indeed there was a shoe print on the back of his hand, which had shrunk back from the chaotic pile of stones, with faint blue and purple marks. The shoes on her feet were also exchanged with mice. Durable and waterproof hiking shoes with very rough patterns on the soles. Her foot added insult to injury. Although he was an injured soldier, Yuan did not relax his guard and the dagger in his hand was always in front of him. DDD For those who have detected C-level wind-related abilities, it is recommended that the host communicate with them in depth as soon as possible. Pomegranate surprisingly issued a reminder at this moment. Level and still with a strong sense of style, Chun Yen's gaze changed as he looked at the other person. What's wrong with you? Chun Yen asked cautiously. The man in the rubble pulled open the torn wooden board covering his body. Exposed can be considered a war-damaged body. The scars are still bleeding in all directions. The most severe wound is in the lower abdomen. It's like being caught by the claws of some wild beast. If it goes deeper, I'm afraid my intestines will flow out. Save my life, I can promise you anything. I can't die yet. The man has no blood on his face. The phoenix's eyes are narrow and long, and its nose is like a hanging gallbladder. The face with sharp edges is surprisingly very masculine. Her hair, which is about an inch long, is clean and sharp, with a very strong aura. His supernatural talent also includes this face that grows in Chun Yen's aesthetic sense. Give him hope for survival. Chun Yen took a look and found no suspicious people nearby. Is penicillin allergic? Having received a negative answer, I first administered him 2 doses of penicillin. Then there are iodine and alcohol cotton balls. Don't make a sound, close your eyes. When Chun Yen was in school, he worked as a part-time caregiver during the winter and summer vacations. I have learned a lot from the nurses in the hospital, and can handle some minor injuries and pains on my own. I even know a lot about injections and medication. This man's life should not be cut off. Due to time constraints, Chun Yen's movements were somewhat rude. The man's muffled groans of gritting his teeth came from time to time. My body was soaked in cold sweat. Chun Yen was sweating profusely due to anxiety and high concentration. It took Chun Yen 20 minutes to treat all the wounds on his body. Of course, all that was left of this man was a pair of shorts. There are also 2 wounds on the inner side of his thigh, indicating that the other party is rushing to make him lose his children and grandchildren. Your abdominal wound is too deep, I need to sew it up for you. Chun Yen is very grateful to Sun Ergu, he even has sutures. But I haven't learned how to sew, I can only make do with it. And there's no anesthesia. Chun Yen couldn't handle the sewing needle at all, so he took out the needle and disinfected it with iodine. Come on, the man closed his eyes. He knew the value of the things the woman in front of him used on him. I didn't have much hope originally. Unexpectedly, he met a noble person. Chun Yen is very skilled in sewing clothes. After all, they are children that no one has wanted since childhood. But sewing people is still the first time. It's not very good looking, but at least the wound doesn't bleed. Chun Yen wanted to look up at the man's situation. The pain of sewing is not something that ordinary people can handle. As a result, her eyes darkened and she fell directly onto the ground. The man was very fast and caught her with his arm. How are you? The man looked at Chun Yen with a worried expression in his eyes. After all, she's only doing this to save herself. It's okay, just squatting a little longer. Chun Yen stood up and stomped his feet hard to relieve the tingling pain. There is also some tightness and discomfort in the lower abdomen. I'm afraid it's a baby nestled inside. She has been out with Jingming for a month now. The babies in their stomachs are the same. Due to the shortened pregnancy period, 1 month's uterus and belly can already be seen. Are you pregnant? What shocked me was the man on the other side who had just struggled back from the brink of life and death. Chun Yen did not deny it. Thank you very much for saving me. You can do anything you want me to. I just need to complete a task, and then you can take my life. The man said. What do I want your life for? Chun Yen pinned his broken hair behind his ear and smiled lightly, revealing a pear vortex. Chun Yen felt like a scumbag. But in order to complete the task of having children and survive, scum is scum. I don't know your name yet. Han Yi. Well, the name matches his appearance quite well. If you don't have a place to stay, you can come with me first. Can you still leave? Chu Nian looked at Han Yi. Well, it's a bit unbearable. I can't die. Han Yi took a deep breath, losing most of his strength due to blood loss and pain. Aren't you afraid that I'll take your things and leave? The things you use on me are just enough to exchange for the entry quota of a medium-sized base. And it will also give you a very decent job. It is obvious that Han Yi has a better understanding of the outside world than Chu Nian and Jing Ming. Aren't you afraid that I'll poison you? Chu Nian smiled. If it really harms me, just ignore it. Why bother with so much trouble? Han Yi reluctantly sat up. The vitality of C-level superpowers is really tenacious. What if I'm just using you? End of this chapter.